Hey everybody, welcome to One Page Story Extravaganza, episode 177. If you have a story idea that you think would be a grand notion to see written and illustrated as a simple joke for you to peruse, do endeavor to post it here that such a feat would be enacted. How do you like that for an opening? All right. So yeah, let's get going with things, shall we? Okay, hiya. I'm Christopher. This is One Page Story Extravaganza, and we're going to get crack-a-lackin' here. It's been an interesting week for me. We did the con. Con was a lot of fun, and then we followed that up by not feeling great afterwards, which is like a normal thing, right? But now here we are, ready to get working again, and I've posted today's page that I did from yesterday. It was a 3-prompt suggestion from 3-Prompt Tuesday. Dramatic, eh? And I was pretty pleased with how that turned out. There's some fun suggestions being made in the process of doing so. Oh, we've got people saying hello. Hello, Chris. Hello. Hello, Anne. Hi, how are you? I didn't get a chance to watch your live, Anne, just a few minutes ago, but I did make sure I stopped in and gave you the old hey-ho. Thumbs up. All right. Yeah, so this page was fun. Chris was making food for us. The suggestion was paint palette, plaid, and earth. So right off the hop, I put the concept. I've always tried to figure out different ways to do space scenes, to do Earth and the planets and the stars and na. And so paint palette fit in there really nicely because I put the constellation on a paint palette, and so each of the planets are to look like a glob of paint, which is a lot of fun. And of course, I put the ellipses kicking all around there in order to bond it to that idea of it's an illustration of the solar system. So there's Earth in there, almost covered up by on any planet, but it's there. Oh no, I'm sorry, Earth is above it. It's got the one moon. That's the giveaway. So, and then I played with layering effects in the post, in the digital part of it, and put different plaid patterns on every appearance of our main. So that was fun. So there's lots of different plaids in there. So I showed this yesterday. I'll show it again. This is chock-a-block full of story ideas that we're going to be working from. And arguably, it's going to be just full of the most brilliant things you've ever heard. Okay, well, Rin has a fantastically fun idea that we'll be trying this week. I think I'm going to pull this tomorrow. But it's a bunny that lives on the moon but sees everything through rose-colored glasses and forgets they're a bunny. It's just fantastic. I do have a couple things I have to get done before this, but I needed to look and see it because I haven't read all these. So I'm really excited by that. So I think we're going to try our bunny idea tomorrow. But in the meantime, I've still got a bunch of stuff in the book that I'm behind on. So I thought I'd crack open on that. If anybody that's in the stream has any, mediums that I use that they think I should do today, let me know. Because, I'm easy like Sunday morning, like that. So, okay, so I got a check Earth, paint palette, and plaid. Swing! Checked off in the book. But we've got still a couple of things outstanding. So, it's exciting. It's really exciting. There's just so many ideas that we've had come up and that we've had done. I can't imagine to my mindset that this ever would have come around to get so much cool stuff. So, good fun. I'm missing a whole bunch of conversation. Dee Dee says, hi guys. Hiya, Dee Dee. Welcome aboard. Chris is mixing gouache with colored pencils. It's a nice experiment. That is a nice experiment. That's a lot of fun, especially if you've got that application of pencil where it shows that sort of the granular aspect of it. So it just kind of texture. Yeah. So there's a couple things I've got outstanding. One of them is If Only I Could from Miriam, and but then I've also got I've got an outstanding Frankenstein from Anne that I got to get going on, and a mischievous cat who stole a hot dog that I got to get going on. So we got all kinds of fun things lined up. Yvonne Manuel's given us a couple really fun ones about, one is watching Dee Dee too much, another one is adopting Shakespeare's Hamlet. Sort of similar. I don't know. Chris says, I also looked up the Magic Stamps foam, and they're interesting. I may experiment that in the future. If you're wondering what that's referencing, Dee Dee Willingham, our friend Dee Dee, who's with us in the chat today and watching the stream, on her stream earlier today, did a bunch of stamps, and that was super cool and super fun. But she also has this foam, and I wrote it down, the Magic Stamp moldable foam. Exactly what Chris just said. To look into purchasing some for myself. So, but you just press it, you heat it, and you press it into items, and then it makes that's your stamp. It's a sort of reverse positive negative stamp, and then you ink it up and plunk it down, and there you go. So that's super cool and super fun. I like that a lot. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to do If Only I Could, because it's just sort of keeps, my eyes are wandering all over the page, and yet I'm still just keep falling on that. If only I could spell. Whew. If only I could. So far this week, I feel pretty good about the stuff that I'm doing. I've got, let me pull them up. I've started with Don't Trust the Robots. This is one of the 2 pieces I did at the con. I ended up doing the start of 4 pieces at the con, but this is one of the ones. Peeling Back the Onion was the suggestion. And the suggestion, it was Marsh Makes Comics suggested AI versus onions. So I kind of went with that. And then there's My Mother Keeps Embarrassing Me is what I did yesterday, or 2 days ago, I'm sorry. And then The Hep is Cat is the one that I posted for today. So all good fun. Let's click on the overhead. All right. I got a couple of things that I'm already working on. And, Miriam's just joined us. Hey, Miriam. After inking and stamping, you clean it, heat it again, and it erases the design. Woo! I was listening to you until you told me you ended half an hour ago. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so I got some pages that I'm finishing off. These are just, I'm always doodling, right? And so this is from a jelly-plated image that I've been cleaning up and finding, here's the level of complexity I was getting out of the jelly plate, really bad print. And so I'm drawing cars out of it, and we'll figure that out for something in the future. And this is another scribbledy dibble of, science fiction characters that I was working on. So I've got a whole bunch of jelly-plated images that I've done, and, that I can put into compositions. I just haven't figured out anything about them, because really I don't plan anything in advance, right? So I mean, there's some fun stuff that you can tell I'm getting a little more successful at it with images like this. It's really about finding that right paper. I like this a lot because it's just abstract shapes, and I was pretty pleased with how these squares all came out. So that was a fun one for me. And then this one, complete lack of success for what I was trying to transfer there, so much so that I don't actually remember what it was. But this kind of has this whole crane and skyscraper thing going on there. You can see that in there, and I like that a lot. And then there's UFO. Well, it's not really a UFO, but I'm calling it a UFO. So I still got a bunch of these surfaces to work on, and then the roll pages that I do as well. All that crazy pretty texture. But I usually don't get too caught up in all of that jazz. So stuff sticking together here. Anyhow, so if anybody has an idea of what they'd like me to do, work with today, I'm fine with that. I got all these regular old pieces of different colors of board. So thank you for your stream. Cool Prince Christopher. Thank you very much. Hey, Marsh has joined us. How are you doing, Marsh? Welcome aboard, sir. Yeah, thank you for your stream, man. It was a fun stream. Okay, so the idea for today is if only I could. I don't know. If only I could what? More lights, please. More lights where? Over here or over this? You don't need to see more of this. Ichabod Crane Cat. Headless. Is that what you're working on today? I missed that. That's some good stuff. Okay. All right. So if only I could. That sounds like a fun one. I don't know. I've got a pen. I could use that guy. Or I got whatever else. It's like he's calling out, "Hey, here's me. I'm a blue pen." In your story is my idea for you. More lights, please, in my story. Yep. Vegas hamburger today. What? Put more lights in my story? Is that what you're saying? Okay, we will put more lights. All right. Well, let's just do this then. We're gonna look for lights. Let's do this. How about this? Let's use this thing, whatever this is. It kind of looks like. It does kind of look like a UFO. I don't know what it's a stamp. That's the problem with jelly plating, is that you pull something out of your magazine, you try to transfer it, and if it doesn't turn out successfully, so it's abstract like this, you kind of forget what it was because you don't keep the other pages around. Although, part of me is thinking that there's benefit to utilizing those other pages too. So, my story is my idea for you on my own. If only I could, I will post on the weekend. More Lights, Please is the title of my upcoming story. Okay. If only I could. All right, More Lights, Please. There's our title today. Sure. I like that. There's our title. That's fun, Miriam. I'm also doing your suggestion of if only I could. Well, let's get into that. Yeah, I got some ideas. I got some ideas. Okay. Anne says, I'm working on a smiling glove. This is too good. I'm working on a smiling glove-wearing cucumber who doesn't want to become a pickle. Love it. Love it. That's where you are really jumping in. I mean, how many people are going to be doing a story of a smiling faced cucumber that doesn't want to become a pickle? Right? I love stuff like that. Okay, so I've just picked this random light blue pen, and I'm starting to play on whatever some of these. Well, it's clearly a circular shape. Now the paper here is so when you're. Let me see if I got another one to show you. I thought I did. I do. Okay, so this paper, right, is what this is for is that when you're laying out a book project for somebody, you can take this page and do rough breakdowns. You see how it's broken down similar to how a traditional comic page is. Well, you can take this and do loose thumbnails of 4 pages at a time and plot those out. And in order to expedite your creative process, or you can try utilizing this for like the same different composite. If you do a compositional arrangement for a page on this, and then you look at it and go, I don't like that. Do it again on this one, like being blind through it like that. So there's a whole bunch of utilizations that you can get out of pages like this. So I printed myself X amount of those. Now, what this is one of those where I've put black lines to the key points. And then for whatever reason, I jelly plated on top of it. Why'd you do that, Chris? I don't know. So, it's that sort of being open to experimentation part. It's the just allow for any potential opportunities that might present themselves and explore those. And so that's what it is with this page here, is that presented itself in front of my face, and I decided for whatever reason to jelly plate on top of it this random circular shaped object, which we're turning into a UFO. Title of this page is going to be Thank You to Miriam. More lights, please. And the suggestion is, if only I could. So when you just take your random image, and this is the part that I've talked about a number of times. So as soon as you start working on your random image, a couple of things start happening. One, if only I could, and I'm working out the image of a UFO type image, right? If only I could, validate the existence of UFOs. Plainly, simply, obviously, undeniably, for everybody to see and know and understand. So the dialogue is what I'm saying here, is that discourse that you might start having in your head in the course of your working, that discourse might very readily start to suggest to you the narrative for the page. So it's just a case of staying open and receptive to that. If only I could post it this weekend. This is the title of this our unconventional titling. Great zine, says Miriam to Anne. Maybe I can send you jelly prints. Oh, fun. Hey, thumbs up for everybody. So interested in a different approach to stories. Whatever, if you have a routine and a practice that this works for you, I have to work this way, do so, right? Never will I ever malign somebody else's process because it works for them, right? At the end of the day, it's not me doing it. It's them doing their thing. So why would I interfere with that? So with that in mind, I myself, I think that if you could talk about what my process is to making anything, it's just sort of doing this whole, what am I going to do thing. And as soon as I get started, I'm off and running. But it really is, if I overthink and try to plot and plan out what I'm going to get up to, I'm not going to do it. And I know that about myself. I know that the easiest way for me to work and for me to create is to just get going on something. And, if only I could, I don't know why, the orange stood out for me. That's why I picked this page. But you can see that we're starting to, sorry for the flashing, you can see that we're starting to get, something coming out of this composition. I couldn't tell you what it was. I think it's a hovercraft or something. Maybe it was the picture. I don't know what the picture was, but I know what we're making it. So there's also some fun effects in the jelly plating that I'm going to try to capitalize on. I like this. I like this bit of business where the pigment doesn't roll out perfectly. And so because of that, we get these little misses here, right? We get all these little bald spots on the page, and the natural color of the page comes through, which in this case is the white cardstock that we're working on. Oh, there you go. See, there's the pattern on the back. I don't know if you can pick that up, but the pattern of the 4 quadrants is on the back too. So I want to utilize that as well. I want to get that into the image. So I'm just trying to pick out lines that I'm finding inside the image. I've got no plan for those, but I'm just accentuating them a little bit. And we'll figure out where that takes us in the composition after. But what I do know is we're going to get funky on this object, on this device. We're going to, make it a little more ethereal, I think. But I like the idea of finding shapes and pulling them out. This is what I was doing in this first page that showed. Let's see if I can find that again. Yeah, the page that I printed that was absolutely terrible. This didn't work out at all. And so as I'm taking the time to pull out these objects and clearly maligning whatever the original shapes of them were, I don't know if it was all the same car or not, but it's not now. But I'm having fun with that. I'm doing it by pulling white up, and I'm doing it by pushing the darks back with the blue washes and the black ballpoint pen. So, it's not as successful a plating, but that's good because it lets us take it in a different direction. So, if anybody wants to talk about what they're working on today, they're welcome to do so. I'm sure at some point Jim is going to show up with a question of the day, unless anybody else has got some hot take that they'd like to suggest. Feeling a lot better today than I was yesterday. Very much thanks to Laurie saying, "Go lie down." She didn't say it like that. She said it in a very nice voice, but go lie down. She was right. So I did. It's important we rest. Yada, yada, yada. Something I have not been good at in my life. Okay, so we're pulling out all kinds of fun little bits of information, little bits and bobs, right? So what I think I'm going to do is that I had a ruler. I really did. Oh, I even have one in front of me and I'm blanking on it. I think what I want to do is take this space over here and separate it from our main, right? So that, pull it down there. And then I'm using the natural marking that's on this ruler for the spacing for my gutters. So I'm going to utilize that, and then I'm going to cut across here on this side. In our image, and then for the same kind of gutter space over to this area, which is much darker. So there we've got 3 panels across the top. So we know that now. So the structure of it's coming through. Now it shows up really nicely in the, I used a ruler, Janet. It shows up really nicely in the camera, all those little white bits popping through. So that's really fun and exciting. Okay, so this is just me for myself roughing these white gutters in there before we get down to business. Business. Today I'm wearing a pair of business socks, that's why it's time to get down to business. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is throw some ink at this sucker. Now, I'm not going to show you guys my ink water because you'll be like, Christopher, what in the world is that? And you're right. You're right. I should be ashamed. I'm just going to make some mess from this really light wash, and then we're going to get back to it. But there we go. So after doing this, it's kind of like, what's the point of doing all that pen work if you're going to cover it up? So we can see it behind there. Now we're going to beef up a little more what we want out of it. So our title is going to be here. If only I could. Or I'm sorry. If only I could is the suggestion. More lights, please, is the title. So I've got this fun little doodly-doo. This came with all of these Muppets. I've got the Electric Mayhem back there behind me. If you don't know, I don't know how to help you. If you don't know, that's the band from the Muppet Show. So I've got all the Muppets that are the band behind me, including Animal on drums and Dr. Teeth. Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem. So one of the things they come with is these spotlights from the Muppet Show set. And so let's put some of those in on our image here. I don't know if that's going to stand up because it's not, because it's on an angle. Put it on an angle so you can see it clearly. So I was about to just start freehanding circles, but I don't want to upset Janet, so I'm getting out the circle thing. It's practically like a ruler. So we want to put a couple of these in our surface there. So if we're going to say, and the reason that I'm doing this is that if we're going to say something like, more lights, please, let's put more lights in it. Okay. See that? I used a ruler. I used a stencil. So I'm using this blue pen, just drawing everything today in pen. Just because, but we'll come in with some other colors in a second. This is kind of fun to run the second stand along the side of the frame, because it sort of just messes with the the expectation of what the frame's going to be shaped as. So we've got a primary orange value for our page. And let's start pulling out some things. So I'm going to use this yellow postcard. start pulling out some of these bits of information here. Move that down. And we'll go around it as well. Same here. Not overly concerned with it being all pretty imperfect. I'm just getting it down. Okay. So putting this stuff into the image in this first panel goes along with our title. More lights, please. And the initial thing that we've got here in the image, some spotlights. Because we're trying to put the spotlight subjectively on what our principal subject is here, which is this crazy, crazy spaceship. So there's the start of our first and second panel coming together. Now, this is one of these brushes that I've been using for so long. I like it. It's really brutal. It's got tape on it because of how much the varnish finish was falling apart on the outside of the brush, and the brush itself is the bristles are a little messed up and blunted, and yet I just, it's the old pal. So Chris says I should be right back. The cats want food. So I meant to tell you about this. Yesterday, as I was doing the stream, I was going to ask a question. And at one point in the stream, I giggled randomly. And the reason that I giggled randomly is that, and I never asked the question, is because I said, okay, put your hands up. That's what was going through my head. I was going to ask you guys, put your hands up if. And I don't even remember what it was that I was going to ask. I just know that I was going to ask everybody to put their hands up as a response. Which doesn't work in the, online in the interwebs world where we're not all in camera. So, okay, so you can see some of the abstract shapes that are going into, that are coming out now from just sort of putting down some shapes with that blue pen initially. And now I'm pulling out the opposite of those, emphasizing the opposite of those shapes that I put down. And so from the overhead now, ideally, Miriam is having dinner. Okay. So ideally, it's starting to structurally put together the unknown object. The background and all of these lines and all of this information that were pre-existing on this page, I don't care about them. I'm not working them into the composition on purpose because it's just information, interesting information for our background. It doesn't have to affect the page. And yet at the same time, there could be some interesting interplay if I emphasize some of those lines. So it's just decisions along the way. You're going to make whatever decisions you make. The whole thing, somebody asked me this weekend at the show, how do you do a different page a day the way that you do? Because they themselves have been working for a little while trying to do a single issue comic, and they want to know how I'm expedient as I am. And it has a lot to do with same thing I say over and over again. For those that have already heard this, I apologize. Sing a song amongst yourself. Try the night shift. It'd be a good time. going down. You're welcome. I go. I've got that underpinning of rules in my head, and because I have a structural understanding of the rules and the have tos, and this is how it's going to work, then I throw them out the window. And what I mean by that is, you do enough of things over time, they're going to be inside you. It's going to, just remember them. But everything doesn't adhere. Everything doesn't have to adhere hard and fast if you can only do it one way. That is no fun. And that just sort of restrains you and holds you back. Now, there's something to be said for consistency and execution, yes, but if you're not going to have any consistency or execution in anything if you don't figure out a process for expediting the work. So I'm putting the white in behind now, and I'm thinking about these little X's and so forth, the little bits of information that are in the image. And so because this is, we're pulling a UFO out of this page that, for whatever reason, will be a subject matter of today, when you're looking at these government photos of events and situations, and they have these strange little markings over there for whatever their analysis means. So we can pull those back out, some of these things, and like it's intentional. And it's just, again, remembering and thinking about, associations, just being free and open, I guess, to associations, and thinking about if it's a UFO thing, what things are connective to UFO, military, government, conspiracy chicken. So we're going to keep some of these checks in business. We're going to put those back in. So even as we're going around here with this white paint, and I'm putting it down pretty loose and haphazard. We'll pull up a little bit more as we go, but for now, this is how it's going down. Chris is back. Hey, welcome back. So if anybody has any thoughts or any ideas, if I could only, and I think that, and again, in that sort of free association of ideas, and this orange page being the choice to work upon, if I could only validate the existence of, now we don't have to stop with just this big UFO image. What else could we put on here? Some of you conspiracy lovers out there, is there other things that we'd like to validate the existence of? And how can we relate those things to one another? Do a little bit of world building and pretend as though if I could only validate this as being real. Did I hear about a lost F-35 plane? No, I haven't. What is it? What happened to the F-35 plane? Okay, all right, yes, it's lost. I know that. I got that part. But what happened with the F-35 plane? If anybody, any of you crazy cool cats are in the know. Well, Chris, you are. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry down a little bit for a second. Let's go back to that first panel. We could have a government agency type here, and we can play on, we could even do that fun thing where it's a person talking in a silhouette, as though they're wanting their identity to be concealed. They found it. The pilot ditched in midair. The pilot ejected from the plane, but it kept flying on automatic. The government couldn't track the plane and asked the population to tell them if they'd seen it. Automatic pilot. They can autopilot. I guess you can keep the plane at an altitude, etc., and so on. But It's not like it flew, it turned south instead of turning, east, right? It's nothing like that, is it? It didn't like fly itself and decide to go to Aruba. I want to go to the beach. It crashed in South Carolina. That's not Aruba. But was it like a straight line or vectored off by the wind? Or is it just it turned around and went the other way? That's where it starts getting weird. This is what I find unbelievable. How can they not track a plane? The government tracks our phones. I got a fun story for you. So the government was doing some training, as they do, down, in your southern states above the Gulf of Mexico. And the Canadian military had developed some technologies where we could, there's two things that the Avro airplanes could do, and that is they were really tough to detect. Be something to do with the shape of them and the way that they moved. And at the same time, the Canadian military had developed technology that made it was highly proficient in detecting other planes. And so there was this game played amongst the Americans and the Canadians, and it was something to do with the Canadians had to try to fly their planes as far south as they could without being detected. And they damn near made it to the Gulf of Mexico. And at the same time, they had the American planes immediately. So it was a little bit silly, right? And so they quickly, Avro was quickly, those technologies were quickly bought and incorporated into the American airplane machines. So kind of fun, but that you'd be amazed that the expectation of technology that isn't actual. Probably a diversion to throw us off from something else. Conspiracy chickens! 4,000 migrants came into the country today. Oh my gosh. It's, we have, there's so much space in Canada, and I don't know what the situation is for our growth as a country. But I was talking to a young man at the con who has just been here for 2 weeks from Kalar, I think is how you pronounce it, a part of India, where in this small city that he lives of, this small province has 30 million people. And so I'm very used to people being around me. So this is nice to meet all these new people here. And I went, people around you. And we looked out the second floor window of this convention, and you couldn't see a soul over half of this really large parking lot. And it's like, comparing where you come from, there's not a lot of people around you. We had this great conversation about how everybody's so nice here. But we've got so many people that come to London because of Fanshawe College and to come here for education. And it's amazing to me, the different worlds that we all live in. But yeah, it's a lot of change. When I was a kid growing up here, London was possibly the whitest place on earth. Man, oh man. Boy, oh boy. This is a lot of crazy information about migrancy. There's an interesting thing, somebody was trying to, between South America and Mexico, there is a lot of inhospitable jungle that they refuse to build roads through. And the reason that they refuse to build roads through is that it makes it easier for people to pass through from South America into Mexico without any regulation. Or, not to Mexico, to Panama. And so they refuse to develop the region and build roads there because it would just, make it easier for the journey. And I thought, aren't there a lot of benefits to connecting South America? Sure, you got your whatever people coming from wherever, but wouldn't there be a lot of benefits to having easier access to South America? I don't know. See, I just don't know. I live up here in the north where no one in their right mind wants to come here anyways. The one thing I always say to people that are new to Canada is go buy some boots. I'm always warning people to buy boots. It's hospitals and doctors are full. Is there still high expectations because of concern of return of the situation from 2021? Is there still? I'm interested in this, like just randomly, but wherever people are that are watching a stream, wherever you are, is there still high expectations for immunization and wherever you are? And is there a lot of blowback from that from people? Okay, I live in a place where we have people driving around in their vehicles with flags, and when you go by certain people's houses, they have large pennants and flags and signs painted that say the word F. It's not. That's not the whole length of the word. Trudeau on them. We have a lot of that here right now because of all of that stuff and the economic impact it had on killing massive amounts of small businesses and things. And so people are walking around literally proclaiming F Trudeau on flags trailing behind their vehicles on a regular basis here. It's it's a little liberal here. It's a little I don't know, unregulated compared to other people. So I'm always curious to how impactful all this stuff is for others. Because you would think that somebody would, those people would be arrested for something or other, or told, don't do that. That's, because who wants their kids to watch these vehicles driving down the street and have to explain that word to them if you've done your best to keep that from them? And there we are. Modern times. Okay, so I'm just finding some of these shapes that I put down before, but I'm also adding some more. But because of the areas that I go over in the ballpoint that didn't have that previous line, that I'm going over top of the white surface, this is where I now get this tertiary value. So none of them have to have vaccines. People wonder why Trump closing the border is so popular. I think it was his charisma. That, and they really like the color orange. No. I have no take on American politics at all. Fentanyl is a problem everywhere right now. So Dee Dee's talking about fentanyl here. That's a problem every place right now. This is what we're having challenges with. Oh my gosh, Chris. That's like you've got a third of the population of my country coming to your country this year from those numbers. It's a lot of new people and a lot of new faces. A lot of new challenges. I watched a really interesting thing today on Roanoke, and I hopefully somebody here is going to be familiar with what Roanoke was. One of the first settled towns, presumably the first settled British town in the United States, was a place called Roanoke. It was on a little island called Roanoke Island. And so when the governor of the island went back home to England to get some supplies, because of the English and Spanish disagreements and conflict navally, Queen Victoria said all British ships need to be called to service. And so what was supposed to be a 2-year round-trip journey, which is already an extended amount of time, it became an additional year on top of that. So when he came back, everybody was gone. The colony was gone. And there's on a signpost or on a town post was carved the word Croatoa. And on a tree was carved the word Crow. So that's the only information left behind. All disappeared. Yes, indeed they do. Yeah. And Didi's read many books on Croatoa. So anyhow, I was watching this thing, and they're trying to figure what's the most likely situation that's happened with Croatoa. And now with gene testing and all the other stuff that we do, scientifically, we can confirm that the people from the materials that they're finding and all the stuff that they're finding very clearly the people of Roanoke Island moved over to Hatton Island, which was nearby, and settled there and immersed there with the Aboriginal population, and that was it. And they figure that what's his lips, who went to England and came back, and where did everybody go? Actually knew that that's where they went, by them carving Croatoa onto the tree, as saying, "Hey, we're over on Croatoa Island." And he kind of figured that, but because he had something with Walter Riley, Sir Walter Riley, because Walter Riley, whatever places that he was responsible for the discovery of for the British Crown, he had to get paid X amount of dollars from the taxes of that in perpetuity. So that guy was going to be like a bazillionaire, considering, all that he discovered. So it was some sort of political thing, I believe. And he just said, we don't know where they went. They've disappeared, so that he could undermine how much money that Walter Riley was going to get. That's one theory. But the truth is that some people on Hatton Island have found all kinds of examples of what could possibly be the fact that they're somewhat descended from those people. Interesting. It does away with the whole early Americans being, killing them all and ha ha ha, or it goes away with all of the carnivore Wendigo, they ate each other. Virginia Dare is the first person born in the colonies. Yep, and they think they found something carved into a stone by Virginia Dare's mom. They think that they have something. There's a whole bunch of stones that they found carvings of that are sort of like journal entries or messages to be left on for whoever's looking for them. And they believe that they have one that may well have been done by Virginia Dare's mom to her father, the guy on the boat who went back to England and abandoned everybody and didn't bring him any supplies for 3 years. So there's a number of those stones that have been found, but they believe that only one of them is authentic, and it may well have been written by Virginia Dare's mom because she signs it. So it's all crazy and interesting stuff. There's all kinds of mysteries that are being sort of upended now because of how we're getting a little more dialed into reality here as a global culture. Like they found Amelia Earhart, they believe they found Amelia Earhart. Or where Amelia Earhart died, most specifically. They've got 13 bones. From those 13 bones, they believe they've got what they've got of Amelia Earhart. Okay, so our UFO spaceship is coming together now. They have around business. 2 years to get an appointment. That is awful. 2 years. What are you doing that time? They think that some of the missing colonists were taken in by the native population. Yeah, there was a native population on the island of Croatoa that they went and moved in with. And they think that some of the colonists went to Virginia, but the other colonists went to Croatoa Island. They don't think everybody went. They think it was sort of part and part. And because suddenly the Aboriginals in Croatoa Island developed all kinds of blacksmith techniques, like mixing different metals together and stuff like that, and doing different metallurgical practices that they didn't do at all before. And they think it has everything to do with the fact that some of the people from Roanoke went there and brought those services to the tribe. So it's interesting. I've stayed on the Virginia Dare Trail in the Outer Banks. I always wondered who it was named after. Yeah, the first little girl that was born in, they believe that was born in America. Segui's been rejected. Single woman, no family ties, job and investments here. Not planning to stay in the U.S. It's $100 for a visa. Oh my gosh. I hope all that comes together for you. Okay, so after I bring some more of these little elements and wiggle around this composition a little more, those are official art terms. Wiggle around. I'm going to come in with some more white again, and again try to de-emphasize some of the information that I've put in, or to make a little more abstract some of the information that I'm putting in, just to keep the person's eye rolling around and to not get locked in on this is specifically what the UFO looks like. And in that way, it leaves it open-ended. There's nothing worse in this world than the people that look at something and go, actually, there would be running lights on all sides of UFO. You see that sometimes. That comes up sometimes. Writers trying to write stories for, popular characters, and then the audience spending all their time looking for the discrepancies, as opposed to, hey, just enjoy the story. It doesn't matter how long Batman's ears are. Now, there's certain things you want to have consistency in, sure, because you're doing, a story that involves Poirot, a random, not very sequential media kind of story. You want to make sure he's got a funny mustache, no? If you don't do a mustache on Poirot, what are you doing? So by moving the pencil around in some of these directional lines, and then at other times trying to, pull out circular shapes out of it, we're just sort of keeping the viewer guessing about what the actual details are on it and why. It's unfair to the American citizens. They get free things taken from taxes. That's rough. That's a challenge for everybody, I think. Germany, big problems with that right now. A lot of people upset about what they're getting taxed for there. Meanwhile, Germany's doing a big bailout for Greece. And the German citizens are like, hey, fix our roads. That I'm trying to think of the name. It's East Detroit. There's a city outside of Detroit called East Detroit. And the city has been beyond bankrupt for at least 20 years, so that the citizens of East Detroit have to go out and fix all the potholes that they see themselves, because they have no operating budget as a city to do any of that stuff, which leads to problems when you've got snow in Detroit, which they do, and how that cuts off communities, cuts off neighborhoods, because they don't have snow plows. Their fire trucks were donated to them by other cities outside of East Detroit. That's a rough situation. That's in America. Okay. And problems like that persist everywhere. That's just, not slanging America. Okay, who runs that city, Christopher? Yeah, well, they're incredibly corrupt. It's been shown. It's been proven now how corrupt that council is. They were going to be absorbed into larger Detroit, but the 3 councilors and their city council, that was pointless. They wanted to be brought on to the city of Detroit as advisors for full, their full salary, and the city went, "What the hell are you talking about? We don't need you." And so they shot down being incorporated into Detroit. Now, if that's not corruption, I don't know what is. So now, as I'm going over this white, one little loop with white Posca, the light blue of the pen peeks out. I'll hold this up closer to the camera, so hopefully that's a little more in focus there for that. So you can see how it's diffusing this, sort of making it feel a little bit more like it may well actually be a light. And so I'm going to just play with this convention around the object. More lights, please, being the title for the piece, which is a fun title, Miriam. Thank you. We're just going to play on this convention a little bit more. I want to say thank you once again. I believe it was Dee Dee. I'm pretty sure it was Dee Dee that told me about Posca pens. And I use them all the time now. Up until now, I've been having, it's expedited my creative process dramatically. Because up until now, I would have to do all of this with the brushes, and which can really be laborious and take some time. So thank you for that, Nate. Thank you for this valuable piece of information for me. Look what you've done. Look what you've created. Okay, so just cleaning the tip of that brush. Yeah, I know it's on my hand. So I'm going to come back in with that white and hit a couple more spots. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry that everybody down south is going through so much of this challenge. It's a destabilizing thing globally, and it's going to get worse. As bleak as that sounds, and I don't mean to be that guy, but as the global oceans rise, there's going to be an awful lot of people that are going to have to go from where they are. Like, imagine the challenges that are going to be presented to places like Europe and Asia, where so many of these old cities are all built on the waterways. There's some real crazy stories in that, I think. It can be told and explored. Okay, so hopefully that white is punching up now. The government of origins. Oh, Chris, Miriam's going to be at an art retreat the 5th of October. Where's that, Miriam? Governments of origin must stop their internal issues so people stop fleeing. Unfortunately, those governments don't care. They just want to steal money in their own countries. I think corruption is because it's so, well, it's everywhere, right? And I think that you're seeing a lot of systemic change happening globally now. We haven't seen this level of upheaval since just after the Second World War, where people are truly becoming dissatisfied with the corrupt leaderships and doing something about it. Is the French riots are still going on. The media downplays it all because the media is bought and paid for, but those French riots are because people have been told, no, you get to work longer. Too bad. You aren't able to access retirement funds or able to stop engaging in paid labor until you're almost 70 years old now in France. That's what? So I've got multiple people on terrorist watches last few weeks. No telling how many are getting in. Miriam is going to Olympia, Washington for an art retreat on the 5th of October. It took only 5 to 8 people to pull off 9/11? Yeah, my gosh. Okay, so I've got, let me see if this will work. So I'm going to enhance the first panel as well. I'm sorry, listen, I don't mean to downplay the issues that people are talking about. I'm just keeping going along when we're talking about things. But these are real things affecting everybody, and this is not working. So that's because it's an oil base, and it doesn't want to play well with the other kids. So let's use a gesso. White gesso, dancing in the night. I think that's Moon River, actually. I don't want to Moon a river. You see what I did there? So if you ever have the opportunity to look at paintings by Drew Struzan, and I think most people are aware of who Drew Struzan is. If you're not, he's the movie poster painter for a great deal of films like the Indiana Jones and Star Wars and Goonies and all kinds of things. And he has this fantastic thing where he's able to do these stroke lines like so, and he does them with gesso, and he puts them on a little bit of impasto so that there's those brush strokes, those little peaks and valleys that are in the strokes because of the medium and the gesso that he's using. They stay there so that when he goes over in pencil crayon over these areas, then you get these fun little cross lines and this texture in it. I really like it. He also does it with medium. Like he'll go over with like a matte medium or a gloss medium. I'm not sure which. And I think it's a matte, to be honest. And he gets the same thing going. But he uses this thick application that he puts down onto the surface to his benefit. So there's a lot of fun in that. Drew Struzan is amazing. I follow him on Facebook. I didn't know he was on Facebook. Is that UFO being piloted by a chicken? Alien chicken? Conspiracy chicken? It's a lot of fun. That's a fun idea. It needs to be. You guys are crazy. I love it. But on a good note, the UFO is looking amazing, Christopher. Oh, thanks, Didi. Not going. Oh, you're not going. I'm sorry, Miriam. That's ridiculous scheduling. Your thing's on the 5th, and they scheduled your appointment for your visa on the 16th. How does that benefit you? That stinks. I'm sorry that you can't do that. Is there any way that, I guess it's not the same thing, but is there any way you can do some of this seminar online? I know it's not the full experience, but is there any way that, or maybe on the 5th we need to do a seminar day for Miriam. If we can do that, where we all do things that would have been at this thing for you. Unless it's something like baking and cooking, and then, going to need a different group of people. Although I'm sure everybody here bakes and cooks wonderfully. So using a big thick brush with big gobby paint here. But I'm letting the happy accidents happen. I was just having lunch with Lori. She's in the office this afternoon at home here. And it's fun. Every time we go to access our fridge, we've got this fun colored image of Corbin looking at us, looking really smart and bright. We're going to get it framed, but we're both enjoying very much having it on our fridge. Okay, so here's our rough shape here. Of course, it's piloted by a chicken. What sort of question is that, says Marsh. Hi, Marsh. Welcome aboard. And then Marsh says, conspiracy chickens! I'm standing next to a few little pilots as we speak. Marsh, it's inappropriate to call ladies chicks. Oh, no. Marsh really has chickens. That's the best part of that. That dumb joke doesn't work. And then yesterday we had a visit from somebody, and she has 18 cats. Oh my gosh. It's a lot of cats. So let's have a little fun with this first panel. I know I keep flipping it around a lot today, folks. I'm sorry for that. But let's push this back a little bit. Again, I'm not really overly concerned about all these details in here because the text is going to go right over top of this. And then when this dries down a little bit more, I want to bring back up some of these lines we had earlier. Make them like they're weird tracking lines from an American airplane. Some kind of an airplane in some country. Maybe a Canadian airplane. Do we have any airplanes in Canada? Do we have a military airplane? I had a nightmare the other day that the current prime minister that we have in office became watching a documentary on fascism. This is what started this all. But he decided not to leave his office, and he thought he'd just make himself prime minister for life. And people didn't accept that. People had a problem with that. So, But a Canadian protest, boy, oh boy, you want to talk about radical. We just line up our trucks and just cross our arms, or actions like that. We like to protest and sit in it. And I don't know how much that accomplishes. Okay, so we're starting to get. So the reason that I went around here on the light is it doesn't. I just want to capitalize on the whole space of the paper. Do they burn down the cities here? No, that only happens when the Vancouver Canucks win the Stanley Cup. Marsh always keeps a couple of eyes on his little conspirators. Chickens have this conspiracy look all the time. Hey, these chickens are ladies too. Well, all except one. Gonzo has chickens on the Muppet Show. I have Gonzo and his chickens in little action figure form. It's in. When you buy the Gonzo figure, he comes with Camilla and one more chicken. And the world doesn't expect Canadians to protest, I guess. Yeah, well, we tend to have walks. We do a walk, or we or we have the trucks from across the country who drive to Ottawa and sit there and go, hey, we don't like this, eh? Until all of their trucks get towed away and they get so heavily fined, it's ridiculous. Pretty passive here. Which generally means that not a lot of impact, and these people do whatever they're going to do anyways. So maybe we need to get a little more aggressive here. Hopefully not burn down any cities. I've been watching a lot of different documentaries this week. The reason I knew what I knew there about East Detroit was that somebody, they're trying to figure out some methodology to reclaim this lost land. I mean, when you have cities that go from populations of 170,000 to, 13,000 people, you got all this unused property and unused land. And is there any way that can be utilized in more proactive ways, like farming or something like that? And they're trying to investigate that now, but the problem is you can't do that with these former city locations because underneath the ground is all that former city infrastructure. It costs so much to get rid of it. It has to be done a certain way. It's just little things that get in the road, right? Hey, there you go. 3 conspiracy chickens down. Chris is having eggs for lunch, an omelet. Coming soon to a city near you. Marsh, I hope you kept your windows closed. I started something new today. I don't know if anybody noticed this, but I'm going to put a little date stamp on the pages now as I'm posting them. Just, I don't know, thought I'd do that. Little date stamp to sort of say, hey, this page is from this day. When I'm filling out, when I'm putting together the Substack posts, which talk about what happened, like what I put out each week, it is ridiculously hard to remember when this was, what week this was, or what day this was. Gonzo was an alien, and that explains his relationship to chicken, so it sort of all works out. Now Vol wants to have dinner, eggs for dinner now. Lori made a chili for us to have for lunch today, so I kept having to go up and make sure it doesn't stick to the thing. And we had it for lunch. It's very nice. I'm spoiled. Okay, so this is where our title, I'm going to stop fiddling with all these little bits. So we put a couple of those suckers in there. So we've got our first panel that we're going to have our title on. We've got this information together on our second panel that we're going to have on our page. hold on, I'm going to move this up. Now, I want more consistent, flat white to start coming through there, right? And just to push this back, like part of me thinks that I should do a really light white wash over it again. That's what I'm thinking. Miriam's off to bed. Have a good nap or have a good sleep. Way to go, Marsh! You kept Miriam up all night. That's so sweet of you to watch everybody's streams, Miriam. I hope that we're revealing things to you that help you in your artistic journey. But enjoy having a sleep there. Wonderful. Okay, so I think I need to figured out something around the idea of pushing this back. But so I want to explore this idea that I had a few minutes ago, and that is to have somebody in a chair. And so we'll put them like so. Yeah, I think you can see that. So what I'm doing is that I'm just matting in the shape of their form. And this person is sitting here giving they're testifying about what they saw and where they were when this happened. And so I thought that taking the leap from, so one of the things that we can do is as we have our person in their testifying here in silhouette, so that nobody knows what their real identity is. So we're going to, bring up the light around them. But I think I want to introduce another panel where we also get the perspective of somebody else to throw people off the scent. So there's a part of me that was thinking about doing a silhouette of a chicken. So this might be mental, but having the chicken testifying about the veracity of the claims that are being made. I just think that'd be funny, and sometimes you got to follow those random pieces of inspiration. So I think setting the tone. So here we are, and we've identified this, and we've left ourselves lots of little spaces for dialogue as we move into our narrator, who's been giving the testimony about this happening. The lights that are here, the idea of exposing the truth or bringing more lights to an idea. So thank you for the suggestion for the title, Miriam. And it's all based on if only I could. And he's describing if only I can make this clear enough to you how real the situation is, how real it was for me. So to have established this pattern here, and then to kick back in and have another panel where there's a chicken testifying as well. And, if he says my pal Roger was with me, Roger saw the whole thing. And then we put a little label on the panel that says Roger, but the silhouette's of a chicken. Because I'm an idiot. The chicken could be dropping eggs. That's definitely an idea. Bye, Miriam. Have a great sleep. Marcia's looking really cool so far, Christopher. Or his secret identity is a chicken. That's great. That's great too. Dropping colored Easter eggs. Oh, that's fantastic, because Easter eggs are like illuminating secret things, Your chicken to one-page comic ratio this year is going to be tremendous. Yeah, I'm trying to offset the cat to comic ratio this year. Chickens. All right, so I'm just filling in this silhouette figure that we're putting in the chair. And so what I'll do is I'll have the shape of the chair behind them as well. And I'm pushing over the side of the outlined panel as they're on the page, because really that and the orange isn't necessarily to say this is the confines that I have to work within. So we're going to push it out a little farther. Jenna says, I totally lost track of time. How did it get so late? It does that. It sneaks up on us. Everybody likes to think time's a constant, but I truly believe it's a variable. The fun things and the things that you're enjoying doing when you're doing them, they go by so quickly. And at the moment, they can feel like, oh, it feels like we've been doing this forever, but then they're over, and it's like, oh, such a brief time. Then you have that slog of waiting until that time period comes back around again for you to do the same thing once more. Okay, so here's our first guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the hand like this, like his hand is up right here, because a lot of people talk with their hands, and there needs to be some momentum with this panel. So by having his hands up, as though he's suggesting this happened, like this, as he's talking with his hand, that just gives a little extra something, that silhouette. Chris says, your next book can be one-page comic dedicated to conspiracy chickens. Just saying, conspiracy chickens! Yeah, that could be a thing. We could do that. All right, so because I've done this yellow here, I'm going to come back to that over here. Make these fingers a little more clear. Bring out the details just a little bit more. So one of the jokes that I made in the one-page comic extravaganza book that I put out is that Lori writes a foreword in my book, and she says, you need to get somebody to give you a foreword like this. And I just use that note that she gives me as my foreword. But I said, don't worry, hon, I've covered it up so that no one will know it's you. Meanwhile, I leave those notes in the book. And the way that I covered it up that it was her is I took a photo of Lori and I silhouette her image, like her, the actual part of her. I blacked that out. It's clearly the shape of Lori's hair and so on and so forth. But so I said, the person that's saying this, I can't remember what the specific language for the person that's saying this is identity has been blurred to keep, their identity secret. And then underneath that, I wrote, their voice has also been blurred to keep their identity secret. And when it's such a dumb joke, but at the same time, it's a fun joke because it's not like you hear them reading, but, it's not like you hear their voices. You're reading what you're reading. So it's sort of playing off of, the fact that it's a textual piece, and I've made a joke about sound. You don't hear anything anyways. I like to do that a lot. I did that in one of the 4 zines for the zine swap, is that I have the first character say, hey, you, and then when you open it up, it's the first panel inside the book. He says, did you hear me shout, hey, you? Completely pointless to put that in there, and if it makes anyone laugh other than me, great, but in the interim, it's just a silly thing that I wanted to explore, so I did. Don't deny yourself those things, and those are the little you-isms that come out in your work. Look at this. I put a line on that page. I'm gonna have to draw on this in orange now. Are we kidding? It doesn't matter to me. I'm gonna do whatever on it anyways. All right, so I'm just putting down this orange pen in his ear, some pathetic attempt to make it look like it's a flat color, which it really doesn't. A for effort. But we're at an hour and a half. Man, we've got a lot done today. We're kicking. You guys are doing really good today. We're doing it, team. Am I missing stuff? And in a book, the voice can be blurred. Well, you can do that. You can do that by smudging actual text in a word balloon. There's a million different ways that one can do that. You can micronize the text so that it's way too tiny to be read legibly. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can do that. I just made the dumb meta joke that I've disguised her voice. Not a pointless endeavor. It was a government-funded thing that I did it, so government-funded voice disguising. So it's very important. National security and all that in Canada. We believe it or not, Canada has national security. Most people don't realize that Canada has our version of an FBI/CIA. We really do. Never deny yourself a healthy dose of absurdity. Nice, Dee's laughing about that one too. Yeah, no, I think it's fair to say that I don't ever deny myself the allowance to be absurd. I pretty much live in that place, and every now and then I step my toe over into normal behavior. I make jokes. This is a really morbid joke, but bear with me. I make jokes about what I want to say on my gravestone. And I have a hard time settling on, what it will be. It changes all the time. But right now I'm working with, that was interesting. I don't know. You gotta make it fun for people when they go to graveyards. That's all I'm saying. There's actually a person buried in London in our one graveyard whose last name is Batman. It is so sad to me that the Batman family of London is not continued. I'm really disappointed by that. But somewhere in this country, hopefully, there exists a family of Batmans. How would that feel, the popularity of such an abstract thing as a character like Batman? And you having that as a last name? Boy, that'd be interesting. Famous Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Yeah, that would work for the gravestone. Yeah, it's a fun one. The best gravestone ever is Jack Lemmon's, because Jack Lemmon, prominent actor, his gravestone says Jack Lemmon in, and then there's the grass. There's the surface of the lawn there. Jack Lemmon in. It's kind of fun. Okay, so there's our first panels. It's a fun title. The more lights, please. I like the idea of illuminating secrets. I think that the hash lines that are here, I'm going to accentuate those again. I just want to make a little more diffusion of the UFO, push it back a little bit and flatten it out. Vol wants, I want eaten by sharks on mine. It's, when that really works, is if you live nowhere near water. That is, Vol, if you live anywhere near water, it's still a good joke, but if you live nowhere near water whatsoever, like it's hours to get to some, and that you're eaten by sharks, that's where somebody goes, what? Yeah. I like stuff like that. That's a lot of fun. That's a good one too, Vol. Chris says that I need to draw more conspiracy chickens. Conspiracy chickens! But first, this term needs to finish, and fast. The first course ends in 2 weeks. The second will be 7 weeks or more till early December. And then it's chickens, chickens, chickens. There's a guy running for sheriff out here named Bateman, and someone would paint out the E in the middle every year and draw a Batman symbol. It's fantastic. Bull lives in the desert. Oh, the bull, you rock it. You own it. You put that in your grave. That's a good one. Eaten by sharks. Here's a funny story. Alan Moore, the writer of From Hell, Watchmen, V for Vendetta, etc., as well as some really fantastic novels like, Source of Fire and things like that. Alan Moore lives in Northampton, which is the most inland city in Britain. It is the most, you measure it It's the farthest away from the water of all major cities in all of Britain. And he calls his house Sea View. There's a plaque on his house that says, you know, Sea View. That's a lot of fun. Omar says, I'm just joking. I don't know where Vol lives. Chicken time! Conspiracy chicken! Yeah. Okay, so we know that I'm going to do one of these silhouette panels. I like the idea of doing this dark but leaving the orange behind it, rather than trying to do any sort of gradation or any sort of shadowing out or anything like that. I'd just like to leave the integrity of the paper the way it is. Because, again, we're going to cover these things up with text, right? So the more complicated and precious we become about the imagery that we put down, the more it's going to make the textual part of our story suffer. So I know that one of the spaces down below here is where I'm going to put, I haven't figured it out yet because I want to figure out some more elements here. But I'm going to do a chicken in the silhouette method. So that should be some fun in the sun. At the same time, I need to do some more. Like another thing I want to do is there's a wheel here from something. I'll hold it up. Here it comes. Don't be afraid. This wheel that's right here. So I'm going to do, we've gleaned all kinds of technology, and I'm going to put some of the most basic stuff that I can that looks like it was, you know, technology implemented in the 1920s or 30s, like steam-driven stuff. We've incorporated all kinds of alien technology into our society for a fact. It's not going to be anything modern at all. Just like a pneumatic piston or something, you know. If you know what that is, you know I'm a dork. So it's 20 minutes. Omelet time. There you go. We've saved us from the aliens. So I've got 2 ideas for panels already, but I'm going to need that overhead shot of distant view. So I think I might put that here, sort of similar in size to that. It just sort of creates itself after a while if you just allow yourself to give into it. Like, there's little parts of me that, like, I might turn the light on the guy who's given the, so he's like this as the light comes on. As he's given his narration, his testimony, I might have it end with the guy who's holding his chicken, have the lights turned on, and, you know, now everybody knows who's been narrating the story. So way to go, dum-dum. But whatever stuff comes to mind, try to hold on to that. If you have to write it down, write it down. If you can quickly implement it, do so. If your mind can retain that stuff, then just, you know, come back to it and implement those ideas. But whatever methodology you need to put into place that works for you, the goal is the impulsive moment. The goal is the idea to just take that random, sometimes absurd and sometimes, you know, just this poetic, this wonderfully poetic balancing scheme for the image or the text for the story itself. But to get those things, don't lose those things and put them in. And then that's where, as I usually say this, that's where you come out. That's where it's, nobody's going to do the page the same. Give the same idea to somebody else. Give the same subject to somebody else. Give the same structure to somebody else. They're still not going to do it your way. They're just not. They're not you. And I like who you are. Yeah. Channel a little Fred Rogers there for you. Or Guy Smiley. You could do it, or not Guy Smiley. What's the guy? You're good enough. You're smart enough. Can't remember what that guy's name was. Anyhow, so I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We got 5 beats across the bottom of that page. And I'll measure them out to be an equal size for the rhythmic play of the piece. This one being as broad as it is, I'm still going to structure some story into that similar rhythm in order to keep the page going with a balanced sense. It doesn't always have to mean that it has to be the same size panels throughout. It doesn't always have to mean that it has to be this uniform structure. You can break it up with images. You can leave images wide open and not have frames around certain parts of it, or other parts of it overlap others. Yeah, Guy Smiley was on Sesame Street. Stuart Smalley, thank you. Thank you so much. Everything's mental. Experimental. I love that. That's fantastic. Thanks for streaming. Have a good evening. Thanks very much, Dee Dee, for coming out. Super fun. So yeah, Stuart Smalley, thank you. You're good enough. You're smart enough. And gosh darn it, people like you. Conspiracy chickens. She had to get that in one more time. Bye, Chris. Thank you very much. Guy Smiley is, I love peanut butter sandwiches. You're right. Thank you. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap it up for today, and I'm going to get experimental. Thank you, Marsh. That is so good. I love that. I need that on a t-shirt. Everything's mental. Experimental. You know what? I really do need that on a t-shirt. Is that something that you see on the regular, Marsh? I don't want to steal your thing. Now, I'm in Canada, so somebody's going to be like, mental health is not a joke. Because that's what happens here. Okay, this has been a lot of fun. I wrote that down. Too good. It's just too good. Yeah, I'll have this presented for tomorrow. And I hope that whatever you're working on, you allow yourself to just lean into that you factor. Lean into that voice that you've got. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Bang. All right, that's it for me today. I'll be back at 2 o'clock tomorrow, EST, 11 o'clock PST. And I'll see you then, hopefully. Bye for now.